Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our show. Joining us this evening is Henry Wilson. He is the former county councilman of District 6. He served many years on the school board in the Easley and Croswell area. And most recently, he is appointed to the library board to serve District 5 of Pickens County. So we'll be excited to hear what his plans are for his upcoming term. So my name is Mason Sims, and let's get started. Good evening, everybody. This is Mason Sims, and welcome to another episode of our show. Joining us is Mr. Henry Wilson. Dr. Wilson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, those of you that do not follow Pickens politics, so just feel free to tell us a little about yourself.
Fair enough. Lifelong resident of the county. So the time I was in the service, full of brief experiences, corporate, moving across the world. Worked here my entire life. Never had a job in the county. There's not a lot of work for, advanced engineering in our county, maybe other than the university. But hopefully that'll change over time. I've been involved in politics since 2008. I started trying to get schools to do science and technology programs in every school, in every classroom, hands-on learning. And so I got involved in politics. Pretty much what you got to do in the grassroots environment. I've served on the school board, and we were able to put laptops in kids' hands. We were able to put the software for textbooks in the hands. Computer's not very helpful without that.
Right.
And those textbooks are easy to update during COVID. All the kids going home, but still having access to the internet and to their school was a byproduct of that effort to put those computers in kids' hands and to really invest in the architecture and infrastructure to support that. We were able to, in a short order, do science and technology programs in every classroom. And I thought it would take 10 years. And once that was done, that was my whole goal on the school board. I think that there's a big debate about term limits. The natural term limit is to have a real goal when you get elected. And then when you get it done, to get the heck out of the way for somebody else with a real goal.
Right.
And so I moved on, and then a few years later, a good friend of mine, Zach Hinton at Blue Ridge, was going to run for the county council, and he was clearly, by miles, the best qualified candidate in that race, and I was going to support him. He had an issue in his private life that would be striking to most folks, and he pulled out of the race, and I stepped into the race at the urging quite a few people that were concerned about the little mafia group up in Dacusville having control of the council seat again, or more time. And so blowout win. I promised during that election to fix roads, particularly 183 and then the county roads, and just do the work that it would take to, possibly keep the landfill open. Because once you lose it, you lose it. And there's no room anywhere in our county to build another one by the current state law. And to do quite a few other things. And again, I normally would have taken particularly the previous incarnations of our board with their witch hunts and all the other counterproductive efforts that they were involved with. Would have probably taken a decade or two. We were able to get it done in a year. Well, most of the stuff in a year. We did the road fixes. We had the momentum towards getting 183 funding coming out of the partnerships that we were able to build across the folks in that county. We got $100 million to fix 183 that would have never happened. And it's certainly because the folks that preceded me on the council weren't supportive of fixing 183. And it's, despite what the current council chairman was telling people for years, that the 183 is not dangerous. Most folks with eyes that have been on that road know that it's dangerous as it could possibly be. That's one of the tests of real political lies. If nobody believes it because it's so dumb that it's obviously not true, no matter how many times you tell it, people are going to believe it. So folks were overwhelmingly supportive of that. At the end of the day, we did most of the things I had hoped to do during, as a county councilman. And I agreed to rerun because the Highway 183 project has a chance to run off the rails and be an incredible problem for everybody in the north portion of the county, or just an absolute stellar solution. And I believe that if you were hiring for a hospital brain surgery group, then you would want some folks that have done a little brain surgery, right?
That's right.
You wouldn't hire, if you had a choice, a bunch of clerks with no experience to do a brain surgery and just throw them in an OR. Council needs folks with leadership experience and many of the things the council does, for example, like landfills. Current chairman was hell in high water that we would just close that thing down because somebody somewhere said that they should close it down. And with just some very sensible purchases that they truly needed, that have paid for themselves for the most part already, we're going to keep it open for 50 more years and save about $1.5 million a year. So I think that's a win for the people of Pickens County to continue to have a landfill for 50 years and to save $1.5 million a year. And all it took was some forward thinking and somebody with some experience in those types of areas. We're going to go into a different period now. And you look at the library board has been missing a few things. Some folks truly understood how the budget works at the county level and the difference between a governance board and a functional support or functional management like unit, like a group of managers. The difference between the library board and functional management team is huge. And so the folks on the board are having to learn the hard way. And the library is getting a lot of attention in the community. And so as I was rolling off the county council, it appeared like a clear opportunity to, when I was asked to do it seemed like a clear opportunity to go and kind of bridge this true gap in understanding how the county truly works and the perception of how the county works through, the library leadership's perspective.
Right.
Because, there's a little bit of a contest that goes on there for those folks looking for resources and the council being willing or able to provide the resources. And for example, this is a little unrelated. Current sheriff was, which we're all wonderful to have had him elected. In his previous role as manager of the team, he puts in a budget for training. It goes all the way up to the top. The sheriff proposes it to the county administrator. County administrator loads it into our roll up, and folks come in and kind of present it to the council for approval. And so, if there's tension on what the services should provide from a political perspective, there's going to end up being a dialogue about what that money's going to do and whether or not you get it or not. Well, just a few years ago, the whole county was concerned about a litter problem. Council approached the sheriff about fixing that problem because we'd funded roles for that before. They were unable to do it. And so the sheriff put the council in a position where we had to create the roles ourselves. And if you're in the seat where you're looking for training for SWAT guys, that looks like you got defunded just because you didn't get the money that you'd asked for and had to go to the people the community thinks are important.
Right.
So if you're at the library, you don't really have that type of a compelling sort of your family is at risk if you don't finance this for me or that for me. What they're doing is more targeted piece of the Maslow hierarchy and needs. And so when they're advocating out in the community for issues and they're being sort of pushed out into the spotlight in the social culture world, I don't know if it does a great service for it. So it was worth it for me rolling off the council to go to the library board to kind of help portray the board what the role of it is. It's hard to tell people from the outside.
Right.
And have that filtered through the lens of the leadership team in the library who's part of this contest to get resources versus the political contest to deny the resources for good or bad reasons.
Right.
So it's like an opportunity to continue serving the community. And so that's why I'm here on the library.
That's good. And also, I probably heard too, the big thing going on right now is like the type of books that are in the library section.
Right.
And what are your thoughts on that? Or like plans to maybe at least get, not that it's like banned, but at least like moved in the proper section?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you married?
No.
How old are you?
28.
28. Okay. So, and I can, and if you'd like to, because for the theater of it, I can call the guy that was there with me when this happened. Driving in Lyman, north, near Spartanburg.
Right.
And got a call, pulled over, answered the phone call. And it was a lady who's part of the group, that's kind of advocating about, pornography in the library.
Right.
And the reason why I'm offering to call him, because her stand was we take every single book out of the library that even mentions, it mentions sex in any way. Textbook, a love story, Harlequin romance, what a battlefield sci-fi book. If it mentions sex in any way, including kissing, to take it out of the library. And when you start looking at that, I use AI, right? But how many books mention Botox? How many books mention kissing? And kissing seems to be like one of the most universal things human beings do, other than breathing or eating. But her stand was that she literally said, "What good would it do? You have those books in the library." I was like, even including kissing, everybody. So if we were to call the guy that was in the car with me there, she didn't leave me a room open. Some of the stuff that's getting sent out now in this sort of more moderated political environment, where this passion, having it vibrant, so it can help bring volunteers out, things like that. Some of that's kind of catered off a little bit. So the intensity of the rhetoric is dropped. But she was categorically and completely clear that her and all of her friends wanted me to give her every single book in the library that even mentions kissing, much less any sort of relationship of intimacy, right?
Well, that's very extreme. I wouldn't agree with that.
Well, it is an extreme. And then the other piece of that, right, is like, where does that stop? where does it become not, where does it become watered down enough, right? And the reality of constitutional rights is that you can't have a swimming pool with a peeing section. You know what I mean? The whole pool's getting peed in, right? And so the problem of being somebody that's in the government that represents the government, when you come to them and you say, I don't like them, and I don't like it because I interpret it this way or that way or whatnot, and you ask them to withhold that and access to it to folks that might have a different view than you, right? That opens up an incredible can of worms because that's right there at the constitutional level. And the only two things keeping us from being a third world country is property rights and the rule of law. And ours starts with the Constitution. And unfortunately, when you close your mind and you think about a librarian, you don't normally just out of the gate think of somebody that's so sexualized in their daily behavior that everything they live and do is got this aura of sexuality about it. It's just, so, it's the opposite in our culture, right?
Right.
The folks that are attracted to that type of a job or whatnot, tend to have this sort of cultural cliche around them of being stoic and pretty reflective of the local community morals. And despite all the folks that have moved here, the local community morals in our community are still pretty conservative.
I'd say so.
So the rhetoric has been pretty vibrant, right, and pretty theatrical in a lot of ways. And it's been, if you're a librarian, it's folks pointing their finger at them and trying to somehow take this role in our community that has this reputation for like education, fundamental goal that they have as a mission from their career, and somehow undermine the political respect in the community for that role and the way that it works, right? And so the question for somebody who's a representative of government, and if I tell you that you can't have access to something, that's a fundamental violation of your constitutional rights. You put that person in this role where they get to decide. The problem, in the political role where you're not dead in the center that the Constitution has primacy over everything else. If you don't protect, freedom of law and freedom of speech, and you don't protect property rights, you're not protecting America. You're not doing your job as a representative of the government, particularly not a representative of the people, not a leader in the community, right? Because there's all sorts of forms of leadership in the community. But when you represent the folks in the community as a member of the government, we are exactly what the Constitution is trying to protect you from. It's not trying to protect you from Elon Musk, who can just wake up one day and say, get rid of everybody's picture that's wearing a pink shirt, because he owns it, right? And he owns the primary piece of the stock that controls what they do. And if it costs him a bunch of business, he has to own that as his role of a CEO and whatnot in the company, right? Well, in the government, right, the first thing we shouldn't do is try to violate your constitutional rights.
That's right.
I mean, that's just out of the gate. We should not just not violate it, but through the instrument of, we'll say, authority, the sheriff, we should be actually out here doing whatever the hell we have to do to protect our constitutional rights. And so for me, when you get to this point where somebody just has this opinion that every single book in the library even mentions sex or kiss, is my question. Have you ever been married?
Not.
Do you think that marriage is the cornerstone of our culture?
Yeah, plays a sacred thing. And in Genesis, it says to be fruitful and increase in number.
Go forth and multiply. A friend of mine has 9 kids. He said, it doesn't have another sentence that tells one to stop, right? And within the confines of his marriage, right, clearly intimacy is important, right? He's even open enough to talk about it in that way. And you clearly see he's got a pass for the kids. He's almost got the defense and the offense for basketball. How many people get divorced? What's the rate? It's 50%.
Right.
50%. So if 50% of people got cancer, and you knew one of the key causes of cancer, would you support whatever it took to drop that cause to ground to get it out there in front of all the people that are dying of cancer?
Are you talking about as far as
if there was a cure for half of all cancers, would you put it out there and do whatever you could do to cure it?
Yeah,
you would, right? Well, half of all families end up in divorce. Half of all marriages, right?
Right.
Half of divorces. The cause of half of all divorces is issues communicating about intimacy and relationship considerations in a relationship. So think about that. 25% of the people that get up there in front of God and everybody and get married, right? 25% of them are going to go through a divorce because they have issues communicating about sex and intimacy in the relationship. Not two people out here on the street and just bumping into each other. All of a sudden they want to talk about, hey, what do you like to do in the bedroom? That was two human beings whose whole lives have been integrated in a way that hopefully in front of God, for the remainder of their lives on this planet, they're going to be working together and communicating together and trying to build something together that betters themselves and their futures, their children's futures, the community's future.
Right.
25% of all people that decide to get married are going to have an issue communicating about sex or intimacy, and it's going to lead to the divorce and dissolution of their family. If that was any other issue, and to me, marriage, I've been married for like 28 years, right? It's a fundamental part of who I am. I've been married longer than I was alive before I got married, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it is fundamentally, I raised my children on a farm. We've had to communicate with our children about intimacy in a lot of different ways. I have more education than like most families together, right? My wife is very well educated. She's bright. And on our farm, there are animals out there every day, pretty much randomly having sex. It's a farm, right?
Yeah.
So when we raise kids in an environment like that, it's very wholesome. All of our kids do all these chores, this thing and that thing. Our kids probably see some animal or another having sex at least once every day, pretty much every day, right?
Right.
So you don't get the option as a farmer to back away from what's fundamental about what's happening out there, because it's a natural thing. So we have to communicate about it with our kids. And we end up being prompted to communicate about our kids because kids are usually curious. Well, wait, what's going on with these two?
Right. Well, do 4-year-olds need to know about that, though?
If you're walking around, where's your food come from?
It comes from...
It don't come from the grocery store. It comes from two animals doing their thing, or the photosynthesis process doing its thing, which leads to the other. But if a kid's just walking across the farm and they see what bulls do, and that's what bulls do, right?
Right.
They're going to be like, what is happening there?
Yes.
And so we can run from it, right? We can do the dance and they're just riding the magical cloud to the thing to do the what. Or we can say, this is what happens. And then later on, if statistics work for them, they're going to have a, calf. We might have to sometimes do these things with calves that kids participate in. They see the whole thing. And I'll just tell you, most farmers grow up to be pretty healthy people, pillars of the community. And their experience is to get out there and to compel animals to, in some cases, to make more animals, right? So there's just no hiding from it. You have to have the discussions with the kids.
Right.
You can have an impractical discussion that's not going to prepare the kid for their part in the farming environment or not. When you go to the grocery store and a kid says, thanks, fundamentally, this is where all the food comes from. It's not. It's from way back here. Well, it's the same thing in a relationship. A critical element of farming that divided from all human beings is the fact that animals populate in some way. It's just practice. And if you grow up on a farm, you've had conversations about it, witnessed it, right? And those folks grow up pretty healthily. They grow up to do, but they learn how to communicate about it, right?
Right.
So some of the most culturally conservative subgroups of our entire society, everywhere on the planet, sex is as normal as the day is long, right? It's part of how they provide for themselves and for the world. It's fun, right? And we all like to eat, right? So in some ways, we all should want to know a little bit about what happens with regards to sex. But if you had a cure for cancer, and you knew that cure for cancer would save the lives of 25% of all human beings, well, we have a cure for 25% of all the issues that lead to divorces. I'm sorry, that lead to divorces for 25% of all people. And it's to learn how to communicate openly about the practical reality that sex is a huge part of lives. And then in a marriage, it's our goal, right, to perpetuate, right, to represent this gift that we've had on the planet in front of God by helping the next generation come along and become good people and have high lives, and to look for a relationship where they can have intimacy or whatnot as part of just being a healthy human. Well, to balance out that practical need, which 85 to 90% of our community understands, like if I don't have a gay child that I know of, neither one of my children represent me that they're gay. I have talked to folks that have had gay children. And the thing is, I'm not black, right? I'm not Filipino, right? I'm not gay. And so when it comes down to it, some of the issues those folks might face in the world, like handicapped folks, I have to design things for handicapped folks to work with. Right. And I have never been handicapped in other than just being infirm, or just doing something stupid or hurting myself wrestling or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, to get accustomed to design things for people in wheelchairs, I spent my fair time rolling around the wheelchair trying to do stuff. You know,
Right.
well, I'm gonna roll around out there to find out what it feels like to be black, and I can't roll around for called female, and I'm certainly not gonna find out what it's like to be gay. But if I had a child that came to me and was saying, hey, I have these views of the world here that you may not agree with, and here's what they are, and here's how they're going to be manifested in my life, I wouldn't have any way to talk because I have no basis of understanding, right? Zero.
Right.
Right? I have what I've learned through my religious understandings. I have a practical biological understanding of it. But when it comes down to it, how to talk to this person about living his life that way, I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to have to go somewhere, right?
That's right.
And financially, I've been able to just buy whatever book I've ever wanted, right? And listen to whatever, I want to go do. Some folks, their resource is the library. So you call me and tell me that you, Mr. Government, I want you, because you have the power of the government, to go out here and take this book off the shelf to do this, or to ban this book in front of the community or whatnot, despite there's demand for it from this group in the community over here. Well, that's a spot that you have to try to figure out, like, where's the practical reason for that, right?
Right.
And so if you're walking around the library, I mean, I've been terrible about it. When you walk around the grocery store, you put everything back where you got it, and you drop it off right there beside the cash register.
If you get something you don't want.
Yeah, you drop it off the cash register. Joe, please put this back. Or do you walk across the store and put 15 items back and you decide you're not going to go? You're 28, not married, man. You've probably never been to the grocery store one time.
And probably just go to customer service, right?
Yeah, well, some folks will take it to customer service. Some folks will just slide it onto a rack somewhere. Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. So when I talk to the folks in the library, this is when I was on the council, right? Hey, what do y'all do to protect kids? Well, you got to have your mama's signature to get a library.
Right.
And then when your mama signs that, she puts her email address on there. So when you check out books, she gets to see what you checked out, right? And then the other rule at the library, this is a fundamental one that all the librarians are there to enforce because they don't want to be babysitters. They got a job to do. When you walk into that library as a child of 16 years old, you got to have a parent with you. So think about that. Can't have a library card without a parent. Can't be at the library unless parents are with you, right? Get into the libraries, I mean, the world is what the world is these days. When I was a kid, we just ride our bicycle a mile across town and go to the library. But then anything you check out on your library card goes to the parent. And then you have this situation where like random folks can walk through and put stuff. So when we talked to the library about it, right, they had addressed like 95% of those issues. The biggest thing is like, who's picking the books, right? Who's picking the books? And are they picking the books in a way that represents just the general, and this is from the Library Association of America or whatever group like that does this stuff for the library. The first thing is the library is where the freedom of speech is really being contested in our society. 100%, because it's freedom of speech from the government intervention, not from Joe Bob, who created a platform, right? But the next piece of it about the library is that they have a role as the government to stand their ground to protect the right for freedom of speech, right? And so if you come and you say, my opinion is you need to ban, right? And then here's the thing, folks are doing that. Folks are saying, ban the book. They are not, and when they say ban the book, they are literally, when they're talking to the individual governmental employees, right, and myself included, they're not asking for moderation, mediation. What they're asking for is something that is so strong, it is a clear violation of people's constitutional rights.
So you said no Pickens, they're trying to ban them or just have restrictions where the parents make decisions.
I'm saying to you that the sanitized version of what is asked of folks publicly is not the old down version that the folks have been asked, because that's not what was asked of me.
Right.
What was asked of me was not just the one lady, was a grievous oversight. And then what first thing you're going to want to know is like, what did they already do? They already tell parents what's going on. They already put parents in this position of primacy with regards to the kids' experience of the life.
Right.
Through this whole swath of opportunities, right? And so as a conservative, I mean, I've been a Republican my entire life, right? This place, converted from Democrats to Republicans in the 90s. My family's Republicans going back far ago. As a conservative, one of the things that we've advocated for decades now is the parents' right to choose in education. That's a fundamental concept of the conservative platform that we want to empower parents in the education process. That's why, part of that is now you can move your kid around from school to school within your school district. If you want to, I think you can even go outside of your school district. And then you have this growth and all these other ways that your kid can get educated. It's primary outreach of the fact that conservatives stood up for the right of parents. Which, I don't even, it could be some random book or whatever that's in the kids section. It could be either by accident or intentional. It needs to be moved. But by and large, librarians have a pretty good reputation for wanting to do right by the community. our libraries have done a ton of stuff to set themselves up institutionally to empower parents. And so where this thing seems to fall apart, we'll call it at the hypocritical line, is where folks will publicly say, oh, we just asked for a reason because pornography is bad. And everybody goes, yeah, we all agree. Everybody on the library board, all of the employees of the library, every single person involved, all their chains like, yes, we do not want children to have pornography. And this is the things that we are doing so that every parent can participate in this process of preventing their children from having access to information they shouldn't do. And that's falling apart with the same people that have these advocacy organizations push the primacy of the parents' rights in the process. Those same folks are also saying parents shouldn't have the right to choose this because I don't like it. That's where the constitutional issue comes in, right? And as a person who, I swore to the military and in front of God and everybody that I would defend the Constitution. That didn't stop when I left the military. I made that promise in front of God. And at this particular spot where I'm kind of stuck at, right, is when you tell me you don't like something and you're criticizing it, and these guys are going, well, these are the 50 things we're doing to protect the kids from it and put the parents in the spot. When that thing funnels down to just a constitutional decision, I'm just going to tell you, Henry Wilson is going to be on the side of the Constitution every single time. Right. Every single time. Because I'm okay with an idea not making me feel good. Right. I'm okay with, I get up being all the time. I work with a bunch of construction workers, right? They all call me Big Bird, for God's sakes. At the end of the day, this culture that we have right now, that I don't like that, and that kind of offends me, it's got to go the hell out of the window because we're competing against a world of people that are savages in comparison to how comfortable and friendly and safe our culture is. And one of the things I would prefer that we not do is lose this national competitive vibrancy that we've had for hundreds of years now through our melting pot, but just giving in to this, well, I don't really like it, so I should strip his constitutional rights away, which is a natural attraction for all human beings. Right. We think our way is the way, right? When you close your eyes, the TV goes off. When it comes back up, right? You've seen it through that lens that only you have. Right. Perfect. I'm seeing it through this lens. The thing that separates our society from third world is the primacy of the Constitution, the rule of law, and property rights. And so if you're coming in here and you, hey, I think your favorite book mentions sex. And you're like, well, let's please just do the ones that are pornography. And the librarians are like, we're not pornographers. Our industry is not set up to perpetrate pornography. Our industry is set up to educate folks. Right. And it's talking about, remember this now. You want me to get rid of books that talk about issues that make you uncomfortable. If you're the parent and you're having to have a conversation with a kid about something related to being gay, and the librarians will tell you that the majority of the books that are being sort of criticized are things that have sex-related things in there about gay folks, right? It's not going to be a product that Henry's going to buy. I have no idea why I would want to do that. But if I had to have a conversation with my kids about being gay, right, or one of my nephews, for the love of God, I have to have conversations with folks that work for me about it. And I have no range of thought. And if the point of opportunity for Henry to get educated about that issue is the library, right? Right. Then where am I going to go if a bunch of folks for the government decide that I shouldn't be able to read that book? I'm asking you, Matt. You've run for office before, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going to go?
At least when I ran on banning book, just since I remember reading the county council, he had said too that first like video games, if you go to GameStop buy a game that's rated M, mine, you have to have a parent to do it.
Right.
That's really all that. That's all I'm really talking about. That's really all.
I think that's what the library's kind of already doing. You got to have the parents' participation in the process.
Right.
They should be there with their 16-year-old. So the same logic that says that parents should make the decisions about education issues, decide if their kid learns from home, decide if their kid learns from a computer, decide if their kid goes to a brick and mortar school. That same decision-making process is, hey, parent, you're supposed to be supervising your kid when they're walking through the library. Right. If they go into the bathroom and somebody's written John Lewis Chauncey on the wall, right? Yeah. For kids that are too young to understand what the heck that even means, right? It's some funny comment from the 70s, right? The parents should be there. And then the kids should look to their parent as a resource. Hey, what does Johnny Love Chauncey? Oh, it's better than Joe Papa's Mary Ann right up on the one time. Parents' role is to describe that. And I'm telling you that the idea that somebody might have to have a conversation with a kid about sex supersedes the fact that every farmer's had to have that conversation with their kid, because of the practical fact that they experience out there. And we all know most farmers don't grow up, to be axe murderers with pink hair. Fair enough.
Yeah. What if the kid wanted to get the books to parent and have like a bunch of stuff on say the transgender and stuff like that, and then be up to the parent to say they're going to check that book out for them or not?
Why wouldn't it be?
mean,
I mean, I'm asking you if the parent should be the one that decides whether or not their child
right.
is exposed to whatever there's a kid's exposed to, stepping short of something that's illegal. I mean, uh, was a saying, you know pornography when you see it,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Well, who's going to make that decision for that particular parent? Okay, so it's the same logic, right? If that parent decides they don't care if their kid does their homework and they're going to tell their kid that why are they trying to be better than me? And you have parents out here in the world who've fallen short of what they think their expectations for their lives were, that want to tear their kids down too, so their kids don't succeed more than they do. I mean, they're terrible human beings out there, parents and children, right? So what is it? Society does what you're talking about. Sometimes we have to put our arms around certain things because we believe that children should be protected from it, or elderly people should be protected.
That's what the preamble too says: secure the blessing and liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
So in our libraries, right, they have an adult section, they have a children's section, they have these requirements for access to books. Is it a foolproof 100% process? No, it's not. Because clearly everybody knows back in the old days, right, you could find naked women in like the National Geographic. Was the National Geographic pornographic magazine?
It was not
intended for that in any purpose, right? As a matter of fact, from the science perspective, it's shown that these folks live in a completely different way. Despite whatever sexual connotations we put to nakedness, they have a different one. That cultural understanding was important, right?
right.
It's a big reason why I didn't ever move anywhere. I'd have to live outside on the ground. It just ain't fun to me. Look at the magazine, right? Did it look fun to you?
No.
Well, there's a whole bunch of other things like you're talking about. Like I start flipping through a book, it's a bunch of dudes kissing the book's going to go back on the shelf.
Right.
Just out of the gate. I don't have an answer for why folks are attracted to that. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Right.
Right.
But if I had to have a conversation with you, you're asking me like, this is something that I'm attracted to, and I want to know if I can still live a life of virtue in front of God, in front of my fellow man. Can I have a life of service and feel rewarded at the end, including that in my life? I'm going to have some source to be able to have that conversation with you about, because I don't have a frame of reference to do it.
That's right. Really, like my point of view, just the way I interpret it is, I don't think, like, say for a 6-year-old, a movie of like Brokeback Mountain should be on the shelf. It should probably be until they're 18. Same thing as
some different section of the library.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. If my 2-year-old, my 1-year-old granddaughter is tooling around the library, right? I want everything that's right there where she's supposed to be at, right? Choo-choo trains and fluffy animals, right? Yeah, if I get something crazy, I'm for sure. This can't be here, so it's going to go back to the desk, right?
Right.
You know what I'm not going to do? Create a website and go stand outside and make the librarians feel like they're threatened, their lives are threatened.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And if I go to the lady at the library, right, and I keep this in mind, right, the lady from the library that runs our library, the executive director, and I have not had goodwill between us on a number of occasions politically, because I think that there could be more financial acumen associated with the way that the library is managed. That's it. Run it that. I have this expectation of management, right? You need to be like own your financials, because the money is the lifeblood of an enterprise,
Right.
And so my only difference is my expectation for competency in this particular part of your professional environment would be for X, not Y. My first reaction isn't to run out in front of everybody and go, she has to be fired. I met with a lady yesterday at QT, right? Out in front of it and just talking to her about issues she had with the library. And the only solution she had was for me to promise her that I would have that lady fired, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's no place in the professional world where that's not a witch hunt.
That's right.
Right. And that's not over politicized. The people, and we want to hire good librarians. So you have a choice. I can go here and here, and neither place am I going to get rich. But I have this outreach thing that I want to do for humanity, and it involves working in a library. And you have to choose between Liberty or Berea. And this library system has a reputation for witch hunts, destroying people's careers in the 40s and 50s, because political people go in there and overstep black boundaries.
Right.
Or this one has this long-standing reputation of treating people fairly, regardless of the fact that they have different views. They have a job to do. They're doing their job well. Is there a meritocracy associated with it? This is the entire reason the Republicans were able to sweep across all institutions of the federal government, right?
That's right.
Decisions are being made because you look like this, you talk like this, you act like this, you have this preference in your sex life. Meritocracy. So the folks that are attracted to being a librarian, you don't see a whole lot of Hell's Angels walking in with tattoos on their neck wanting to be a librarian. You see a certain type of person in our community.
Right. And I think it's just there needs to be expectations and clear expectations. Then if there's not followed, then you probably need to talk about times that either they correct it or they will have to be replaced.
That's right. So if you come back, if you're a customer of the library and you say, hey, we want you guys to institute policies to protect children, that's a clearly different mandate by grassroots, right? The grassroots folks who come in there and attack the library director person And she has to, she has a library board she has to work with, and she has a lot of other resources she has to do. Would I say she's perfect? No. Would I say that before I will guarantee you in front of the QT that I'm going to go and try to make sure I get one person fired by name because you had an experience with them that I may not either, right? That's not effective grassroots, right? If the grassroots folks are saying, please protect the children and do these things, right? Which for the most part are being done. The areas where I think that there's growth is like, how do you review the books? And for me, the places that have the most effective way of reviewing the books are places like Buford, where they have like a reading committee. And it's people from all sort of walks of life that read the books, that get together, they all vote on it. It's a group of people in the community that are doing it. And it's a perfect synthesis of what you do if you do a poll. The test of it is, will you actually read the freaking book?
Right.
Because some of the folks came up and read these lurid sections of books that are available in the library, right? I just went back and Googled it, and then here are these late night talk show guys that film video of other people reading the exact same passages. So you didn't read the book and come across it and was stunned by it to the point where it motivated you to come. You got a list of talking points from somebody in some federal government place or wherever, or some grassroots place, to go read them, and people are reading them at the same time in different places around. You know how compelling that is? It's about a zero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everyone has other different perspectives.
Yeah, particularly because all the funny comments I could think of fell right short of what all the late night comedians were able to say about it, right? And it was ridiculous. You're telling me that for the purposes of saving America and for the future of our children, that we should get rid of these lurid comments. And then you come into a room in front of a bunch of teenagers and middle schoolers there for a year, you read that stuff out loud to them, you lose all your credibility whatsoever as a grassroots person. Honestly, as a person of character. Right? You just came into this environment and shoved it in folks' faces for the purposes of a political point. You could have just called me on the telephone. Never called me. Never heard from this guy. Don't know who this dude is. Could have called me on the telephone and I would have said, yeah, that's pretty nasty sounding. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like a lot of these, politicians, they have their personal contact number, like on their websites, nothing that may like one or two people contact.
Well, in my phone, I took the county phone, but I did most everybody ended up just calling my person. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know you or a customer. My customers from all across the country. They're all across the county. It's kind of different zip code. If it rings, I got to answer it, right? I talked to a lot of folks from India about their weather, right? But at the end of the day, to get me on the telephone is pretty easy. We had some Church of God folks come up to a county council meeting and give a sermon. And there's nothing more rhythmically alluring than a Church of God sermon. It just, when just the energy level you have and the passion you have for Christ after one of the sermons, it's just incredible, right? So it's just drilling us just to listen to the folks do that. So it's a real skill set that they have. But afterwards, I went and said, hey, when you talk to the people in the library board about that book, what'd they tell you? I'm not talk to them. Well, will you meet with them? I'm not meeting with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Here's a political entity whose whole goal is to listen to the folks and represent folks with regards to parental issues, and you think that it's important, so important to have a 15-year-old kid come in here and talk about his addiction to porn in front of a whole room of adults, on camera, posterity, recorded for life. Yeah, if that's important enough to you to do that, right? To come out here and tell these politicians what for, but you don't even want to speak to the folks about it. You're here for a PR event. Oh, okay. Well, if we're having a PR event, that's great. Let me go put my size 17 shoes on. I'll wear some clown shoes too. Right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, what happened? Like, will you talk to them? I'll talk to them if you're there to supervise it. If the county councilman is here to supervise what the library board member is saying to somebody in the community, then why do we have to have a library?
That's right.
If I got to supervise your meeting with another human being on the planet, you think she's that evil and it's just somebody's grandma? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you talk to them, they're like, wow, we joined the library board because we want to serve our community. We've been teachers, we've done this, we've done that. And I'm getting yelled at like I'm peddling kitty porn.
Yeah.
To sailors or something, right?
It just seems like certain people, they like to find problems and not really come up with solutions.
You know what I found? The folks that do that, right? Some folks will get up there and scream at people and will do this sort of a threat and sort of a pose of, you're going to do it my way, and you know how often they do it to 400-pound men? They don't do it very often, 400-pound men. There's a couple of them out there that are on hands to do it to everybody. But these guys are trying to bully their grassroots piece of it. It's one of the things kind of find amusing, right?
Yeah.
It's like I watch them do it to these ladies, these Billy Badass, I'm going to carry a gun guys, treating these ladies in such a way that makes them feel so physically uncomfortable. And then they just don't do it. The guys my size. You know what I mean? It's just some point enough to it. So what I'm trying to say to you here is, The library board members are there because they have a passion for something. They volunteer, not paid. They volunteer to do this job, right? Take time away from their family to do this job.
Right.
And if you individually meet those folks, they're not the kind of people that are handing out Playboys behind the high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They clearly weren't like buying like bands things so that all their buddies could go ride around and drink beer after school. These are behaving type of people. And then you talk to the folks that work at the libraries, just fundamentally sound people. 80% of them grew up around here. We don't really raise a whole lot of like social fireburnings around here. Most folks kind of believe in sort of the social mores of the whole community, right? Same values. Even our liberals would make Rush Limbaugh look like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a pretty solid group of community people here, right? And so this rhetoric that has painted them to the point, and this rhetoric that has kind of turned them into this opposition against real Americans who believe in protecting kids from pornography, or at least the fact that these guys have been doing it for their career. They've been, sort of managing the access to information for their entire career. And they have this goal for doing that as a service to the community. Making those folks feel threatened, man, that's not grassroots. Grassroots is like, hey, we're in a community here. Let's do the right thing for America. Let's do the right thing for the people we live with. That's grassroots. That's the one that works. Right? Grassroots that screams at people, right? That you have to scream at people for a targeted reason. Then you have to give them like a reasonable thing they can agree to. But if you just scream at people, you call it unreasonable screaming.
Yeah, it's not solid like that.
Yeah, and if you show up to meetings and you make these folks all feel completely uncomfortable, right? In a way that's just bland, and it's not like, hey, we're on the same side of the table here, right? And it doesn't start at the point that we're all still here as Americans. I mean, you're not from as one American to fail or whatever, right? We're all here as Americans, people in this community that want things to work well for this community. The overlap of our ideas is a hell of a lot stronger way to come together than the gaps in the end over here where we're not always going to agree because we don't have the same background. But at the end of the day, making those folks that are trying to volunteer serve feel threatened, making those folks feel like their actual personal lives are being threatened because you think that they're pornography in the library. And then when you get the pornography, I mean, it's not Penthouse, man. It's not, the back pages of a website that you hope you never come across. It's lurid, right? And it may not be to people's taste, but to take the political argument associated with that and to turn it into you are in personal danger, right? Or to take it and you come out here and you put on a show in front of the cameras, but then you're on there talking to that person. This is the person you got to get to make the decision.
Yeah.
But you're never going to talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, are you a serious person here? Are you actually trying to make change? Or are you just out here trying to get more people to come to your church?
Right.
And, and so I should tell you, right? There's this, my wife's grandfather was as Christian a man as anybody I'd ever met. I never met the man, right? But I've talked to lots of folks that had. And the number of folks told me that he brought him to the Lord about living a life of, as a role model for what Christianity can be in your life. Never moralizing, never, he didn't, let me talk to you about the Lord. He showed you a path that you too could live by being a role model in that kind of a lifestyle, right?
Right.
He didn't have to moralize. He didn't have to come to a county council meeting and get up there and just beat this kid for being addicted to pornography and then telling him and making him get up there in front of everybody and give his accounting of his moral decline at 15. He didn't do any of that. He led people to the Lord by the power of his representation of what being a godly and Christian person is.
Right.
Well, that shouldn't stop when the library is doing something you don't want. You treat your neighbors like neighbors. You treat your neighbors like we're all in it together. Because when this big hurricane or storm, we're all going to be living in tents together, helping each other.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to save us. We're Southern. We're not California, man. Nobody's going to put on a farming show for us.
That's right.
So treat people like you might have to be in a rowboat with them on the front end. Let's work through some issues. So here's people come to the library board. They're respectful. The folks that work in the library treat people with respect. The library curates things that reflect the value systems of our community. That's what the National Board of Libraries, or whatever it is called, the National Association of Libraries said. That a librarian's job should be to reflect the morals of their community, right? So most likely, my interpretation of that is there's a line in there where you provide stuff that's for the good and for educational purposes. There might be a reference that this person may not like, this person will. But there's a clear distinction in our society what we all agree what porn is. And it sure as hell isn't banned in every single book that even mentions kissing.
I agree.
Right? Yeah. That's where I'm coming to the library board. I want to be pretty practical. The same practicality that got the money to fix 183 right at the gate when they've been trying to do it for 3 decades. That's what I like to do at the library board because I think all the librarians will like to go back and doing their jobs in sort of quiet obscurity.
Yeah. So Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, and just certain books could brought my attention to stuff like the hips on the drag queen go swish swish. I mean that stuff like that. Maybe I would say that would be censored, but stuff like kissing and just showing love between a male and a female. I mean that.
Answering questions, right?
Yeah.
Fine line between the intent of pornography,
Yes.
right? And I mean, and there are Marines that are cowards, but there are lines all around them, right?
Right.
And so I'm sure there are librarians that are, living to social standards we would want folks to live to in our community, right?
Right.
You're not going to fix that by turning librarians into the bad guys. Same way you don't fix schools by turning teachers into bad guys.
Oh yeah. I am one.
Right. Yeah. And I'll just say, right, as a teacher, I'm not a a teacher. Pursued some opportunities to be a teacher of engineering that work out for me. At the end of the day, it's painful when you put your heart and soul into a kid, and then you go out to the car and you say, "Hey, miss, there's nothing between your kid and opportunity, but himself standing in his own way." And I'd like for you to talk to them about their work ethic and the fact that if they stop working, the guy beside them stops working, and we've got tasks to do.
Right.
In wrestling, I would just made a run till he puked and then wrestled on against everybody. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it than if you're trying to teach kids practical blue collar skills. And then mama goes, well, 17 excuses and 5 reasons and 4 no's.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, you want me to teach your kid and be the parent for your kid. I need you to beat him. So he stops running around on top of the tables while everybody's trying to work, right?
Yeah. Then he started realizing that's why the kid asks. Why the kid asks. And then what comes for the household.
But Sam Weiss, I don't know if you ever met him, but he had this saying. He's like raise his higher than raise. Because you raised any higher than it.
Probably not. I got a metal screw in the shoulder.
You could get up in that chair and you could raise that hand all the way to the ceiling if you wanted to. Yeah. So here's the difference. The first one is what you would do if you had a choice. The second is what you do when you get pushed to do it. And the third was what you do when you get coached.
Okay. Right.
So you're pushing that kid. You go to the parent for coaching, right?
Yeah.
And they decide they won't coach. They're advocating to you that you're going to have to be that coach and that push. You see what I mean?
Right.
We need your help, right? So what the library is saying is we are still a safe place for parents to be able to do that.
Yes.
Right. Now, if that's just, we also want the parent to be able to say, don't put these books in the kids section. Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
But that's another reason on the library board. I'm for the library board so the library realizes they have the flexibility to let people dim the lights in the conference room if they want to, because they can just put up a little red sign that says, this person has a disability or whatnot, and they dim the lights, for this purpose. Right. That way everybody knows it's just not a special thing that that they're getting away with. It's something that they're doing because we're trying to be accommodating in the library. Right.
Right.
Same thing. You've come to us and said this book should be in the kids section. Should be an easy discussion. Hey, why is it not in the kids section? All right, we're going to hand this over to our community that reads all the books. When they read the book, they decided it was for kids.
That's good.
That's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's the majority of what people want. They just want the.
Will you read a book?
Yeah, I would.
Would you be the chairman of that committee?
If you need somebody.
So there you go. So that's how it works here in America, right? If you want to fix it, bring a solution to the table. Don't just come complain and try to turn people on development. Is that fair?
Yeah.
We're going to let you volunteer for that committee. President, committee, chairman. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, just feel free to reach out.
Well, just look at what they did. We're a community, right? And if 20 of us read a book, we're all going to read it differently. We're all going to see it through our own lens, right? And if 20 people come back and say, this is not for kids, right? That's a little bit more sanitary with regards to transparency than just having somebody that has to defend their organization. The executive director of the library has to defend that organization because she has to give her people the room to do their job, right? So she has to take all the negative to her. She has to track, right? It's one of these kids' jobs, the accountants. That's what every CEO's job is, right? They get a lot of money. It's out of scale to what they're doing or whatever. The reality is that every single decision and every single service, every single thing below them is their responsibility, right? So they should pull it in them. So the executive director of the library should be the lightning board so that everybody else is working outside of that environment, right?
Right.
Well, you have the board to work with her. And, having the board that understands their role requires training. County attorneys conduct training. There's some leadership training and there's some board training that's probably going to follow after that because I don't even know the job. And if they don't have the training, then I'm going to expect it. So what we can do to get it, right? Once they all know, then hold them accountable.
Well, that's good. Seems like there's a good structure and expectations in place. Is what people are looking for.
Yeah, we've been 30 minutes now. Wait.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well,
Great.
well, Dr. Wilson, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to come on this evening. I would love to have you come on again.
No problem. Thanks for this.
And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please feel free to click, like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel for future updates, and also follow our Facebook page as well. I hope that everyone has a great remainder of their work week. And next week, I'll be having a state representative come on my show. Her name is Sarita Edgerton. She's going to share with us some of her plans for the upcoming year and also some things that have been going on in state legislature this past month. So thank you for everyone for tuning in to tonight's episode, and good night to everybody, and God bless America. Thank you.